This is GrantTalk, hosted by Libby Hikind, founder and CEO of GrantWatch and author of The Queen of Grants.
Hi, I'm Libby Hikind, founder and CEO of GrantWatch.com, and I'm your host today on GrantTalk. I am so lucky to be sitting here today with Laurel Meleski, who's the Director of Operations at Red Rover. And as an animal lover, I'm so thrilled to hear about all the great work that you do in the Red Rover organization. So tell us.
Hi, Libby. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Red Rover is a national nonprofit. We have been around since 1987, doing wonderful things for animals. I know. Doing wonderful things for animals around the world. Initially, we did have a more worldwide focus, but found that the funds that we were receiving could be better used if we used them more locally. So that sounds not good. Let me start that over.
No, I think that's great. I think that charity begins at home, and that's where we need to start. And then when we have extra funds, we go further.
And that's what we hope to. We had a global focus, and then we started focusing more on programs and people in the United States, so that we could use the funds that we were getting, which were mostly in the U.S., to help the people who were giving.
And who is that? Who's your target audience?
Our target audience for grants or our target audience for donors?
Grants.
So with regards to the grants we give, we have a few different grants. We have a few smaller ones where individuals can apply for assistance. We have our urgent care grant where folks can apply for emergency veterinary care assistance for their pets. We have our Safe Escape grant, where folks can apply on an individual basis for help with boarding their pets while they're in a domestic violence shelter. And then we have our larger grant, which is our safe housing grant, that helps domestic violence shelters and animal organizations to become pet friendly. So people don't even have to contact us. They can just get out into safety with their pets and start over.
Pets are like children to a lot of people, and while they may want to get out of a domestic violence situation, they may not be able to run with their animal.
No, that's absolutely true. There are not nearly enough domestic violence shelters across the country that have pet programs. We are very thankful that we can offer the Safe Escape grants to cover those situations where somewhere isn't able yet to have pets on site. But the safe housing grants are really the one we would like to grow continually, because the more places we have across the country that are safe for pets and people, the better. That's our 25 by 2025 goal, to get 25% of domestic violence shelters across the country pet friendly by 2025.
And that is a very realistic goal. And I'm hoping that GrantWatch can get the word out for you of your applications.
I hope so too. It's a bit of an ambitious goal. We're hoping that we're going to have folks collaborating with us. And it seems like we do. There are people across the country who are making their own programs without our assistance. But I like to think that we've been a driving force.
Well, you're also someone that is a model. You model the program for everyone else. And if they contact you, I'm sure that you go over exactly what they need to do to make the domestic shelters pet friendly.
Yes, absolutely. We have case managers who are more than happy to answer questions. We have grant managers who are more than happy to answer questions about the grant process for our safe housing grants. We also have a collaboration with another organization, Greater Goods Charities Rescue Rebuild, on our Don't Forget the Pets program. It's a website, it is trainings, it's a coaching program, and all of those are available at absolutely no charge to folks looking to make a pet-friendly program in their organization.
Let's talk for a minute about an individual who needs some help that's in a domestic violence situation. How do you help?
Sure. So that's our Safe Escape grant. And for that, we ask that someone be in a domestic violence shelter. That's one of our very few requirements. We try to put as little amount of hurdles in the way as possible, because we already know that they're going through a hard time. So once they're in there, their advocate submits the application on their behalf. And that's so that we can try to maintain their safety as much as possible. We never want to be the weak link in that information chain that allows someone to be found. And once we get that application, we say it takes up to 24 hours for us to respond, but we are usually able to respond within hours, if not less than that. We try to get on them really quickly because we know how important they are. We ask them for an estimate from the kennel that they're going to be using and the vet office that they need if they need veterinary care. Once we get that, we reach out to everybody and just approve the grant. We go through that process. We pay monthly to the kennel directly. So we try to make it as quick and easy as possible.
So the domestic violence person that's experiencing that, they're not getting funds for themselves. They're getting funds to shelter the dog or the cat or whatever the pet is. And that's what people need to understand. They can leave with their pet and you're available.
Yep, absolutely. The funds go directly to whomever is providing the service, whether that be kenneling, whether that be veterinary care. So it doesn't ever go to the person. It doesn't go to the domestic violence organization. It goes directly where it's needed as quickly as possible. We don't discourage any survivors from reaching out to us. We're happy to speak with them. We're happy to answer their questions. But we do have to follow the guidelines of having their advocate apply. And that is because our program helps while they're in shelter. But once someone chooses to leave shelter, that is when our funding unfortunately has to end because we do have pretty limited funding for that program.
And where does your funding come from?
All from donors. We have no government funds. It's individual donors. It's granting organizations that we reach out to ourselves. So it is a wonderful fundraising effort on the part of our grants team.
And what happens when there's like a hurricane or a flood or whatever, and it's not domestic violence related? Do you step in at all to help with housing of the pets?
We do. That is another program, one that I'm not directly involved in, but that's our Red Rover Responders program. We have, I don't know the number off the top of my head, unfortunately, thousands, I know, of active volunteers across the country who are ready to deploy to wherever we need to send them. So if there is a hurricane or a flood or some sort of disaster, we can call up our folks and say, hey, we need 10 people to this location by this date to set up and run a temporary animal shelter so that folks can evacuate and know that their pets are safe.
It's really wonderful because, as I said, your pet is your child sometimes and you just don't want to leave. And now you have a place, you have some way to know that they're going to be safe and be taken care of. So really, I'm very proud of what you're doing. I'm glad that GrantWatch is able to post your grants and that you keep in touch with us. And what would you say when people are applying to you, what mistakes are people making in their application?
So for our smaller grants, for the urgent care grants and for the safe escape grants for veterinary care and pet boarding, there's not a lot of mistakes on those. They're very, very straightforward. They're smaller grants. So those, we really do try to help as many as we can, as long as they're in our guidelines, and our guidelines are on the website. For our safe housing grants, those are the larger ones that go up to about $60,000. And for that, the best advice I could give is read through the application. It's available on PDF and really go through it and try to answer those questions before filling it out. We appreciate a succinct answer. So while we don't want really, really short, one sentence answers to our questions, we understand the history of pets and domestic violence and why we want to create pet-friendly spaces. So what we really want to hear is why something is available at your shelter or why something is needed at your shelter.
We got a question yesterday by somebody asking us if they have a lot of funds in their account, will that stop them from getting a grant? My answer, and I'm not sure if you agree or not, my answer was if the funds are already appropriated, they may be in your account, but they're appropriated for another program and you're applying for something else, then you can apply as long as you explain that. That's why the money's sitting there. But if you have a lot of money in your account, the funding source might say, well, why should we give it to you? We could give it to someone else, some other organization who needs it. Is that your feeling?
So we do, in our application, we do ask for an organization's yearly budget, but we don't make them break it down after that. So we definitely understand, because we go through it ourselves, budgets are allocated in certain ways. So no matter the size of your budget, those funds are likely already accounted for somewhere. So if you're trying to start
Right.
a new program, sometimes you need an infusion of money so you can prove that program so that you can then budget for it the next year. So yeah, people are absolutely welcome to apply regardless of the funding they have available, as long as they don't have
Great.
funding available for that program.
Right. That's right.
Like if you could spend it,
Don't
spend it.
duplicate.
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
I hear you.
this year we received 33 applications for assistance. We received
Wow, that's a lot.
it's a whole lot. And we have
You have to read them. You have to evaluate them. You have a lot to do.
we do, and we have 3 grant cycles throughout the year. And the funding requests from just this first cycle, if we had been able to approve all of them, we wouldn't have any more grant cycles. It was more than our yearly funding amount. So it was exciting to see.
How many did you approve?
We approved, actually, to be fair, we also had a pilot program opening, and 13 of those applications were from there. So we only had 20 applications. But of those 20, we approved, of course, I don't have it in front of me, I want to say 9, I think.
Well, that's pretty good. That gives you a very good chance if you're a domestic violence shelter.
It does. We really look for reasons to say yes. If there is a program, if it's obvious that folks have taken the time to have a program plan, to really think about what they're going to need in order to have pets on site, we try as hard as we can to get folks within our guidelines. If we need more information, we do a lot of one-on-one work with our applicants to get the information that we need. We don't expect the application to be perfect. It's really hard to make that happen.
That's really nice of you. I mean, a lot of people, and that's why in my book, I really go through every single part of an application. In the book, The Queen of Grants, from teacher to grant writer to CEO. And I tell people to be careful because foundations, they get so many applications, they may just discard the ones that are really kind of messed up, right? But you keep looking through them and trying to find the good things and contact people. That's really wonderful.
We do try, as long as someone is asking for something that's within what our grant is able to cover. We get a lot of requests for things that are amazing programs. It's unfortunately just outside of what we are able to do, what our grant is able to do. We
send them back to GrantWatch, okay? Send them back to us. We have plenty of grants.
Perfect. I think I have you listed on our website. So.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
We do try. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we reach out to folks. We work with them on budgeting. As long as they're asking for funds to start a new or expand their program, we're going to work as hard as we can to get a grant to them. Or if we can't do it in the first application cycle that they submitted, we'll move them to the next one. So if you need a little more time, we'll get there. Mm-hmm.
I keep hearing that from a lot of organizations, that they really are looking at the people that applied the year before and asking them to apply again. So everybody should know, listeners, viewers, you need to know your grant application has value. Don't toss it because you think you got rejected. You didn't. Somebody else got accepted. That's all it means. And next year, next cycle, you may be able to apply.
Yeah, our homeless shelter pilot program is a great example of that. The funds that we only had $200,000 to be able to spend, and we got 13 applications, many of them for $100,000 requests. So obviously we could not fulfill all of them. So there were definitely people that we had to not approve that I would have loved to approve. I hope we're able to get funding for that and open it back up next year.
People should really look at what you funded in the past and the amounts and try to fit their program into the amount that you're funding. Maybe get donations or grants from other sources to put it all together.
Absolutely, they should. And that one of the questions that we ask is directly related to that. It asks about, not only how much is this program going to cost, but what other funding do you have that is confirmed? What other funding do you have that is proposed, so that we can see how much work they've done to get this really started and on on track, or if we're the only folks that they're
Excellent.
going to need funding from.
Okay, excellent, really. I want to tell everybody that if you want to hear from more people like Laurel who are making the world a better place, they're finding what people need to live freely, to be happy and joyful, and a solution for them, just hit the subscribe button on the right side of your screen or down below and write some comments. Let us know who else you want us to interview, because we're on a roll here. And thank you so much, Laurel. We really appreciate what you do. I myself had a pet years ago. I had a boxer who I love dearly, and I can't imagine what it would have been like if I had to pick up and run. So thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, Libby, for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to GrantTalk, powered by GrantWatch. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this GrantWatch channel. Please consider subscribing to grantwatch.com, and you can find the book, The Queen of Grants, by going to grantwatch.com/book. Thank you again for spending your time with us.